Hey, today I want to talk to you about stage fright, which is something that everybody experiences when they have to get up in front of an audience to speak publicly. So it's not something that you should try to stop from experiencing, but it's really about how you manage your stage fright. Stage fright is your body basically preparing you for a stressful situation. And public speaking is kind of a stressful situation. So, what happens is I want to talk about what happens physiologically to your body. I want to talk a little bit about some of the symptoms of stage fright and then how you can use that energy to give you a better performance rather than seeing it as something that's trying to destroy your ability to speak. So when you stand up in front of an audience to speak, as we all know, you get all those symptoms that start to feel like you're losing control. Things like your breath starts to become more rapid, your heartbeat maybe speeds up, you all of a sudden have a hard time swallowing, you have butterflies in your stomach, for example. All of these are just signs that your body is prepared for what we call the fight or flight syndrome. Now, you probably have heard this with animals that when they're faced by an attacker, their body basically pumps adrenaline. And what that adrenaline does is it gives them the ability to either turn and fight their attacker or to get the heck out of there if it looks like they're going to lose that fight. So, but the adrenaline is basically your body preparing you for a stressful experience so that you can perform at peak capacity. And, giving a speech is a stressful situation. So your adrenaline is what's doing all those things to your body. It's giving you that rapid heartbeat, that dry mouth, that kind of even sweating on your skin sometimes. All of that is your adrenaline response in your body. Now, if you take that and you interpret that positively as your body preparing you for a good fight, right? Because you don't want to flight. You can't like run from the stage or hopefully not pass out. So you're going to fight, and so that's your body preparing you for a good performance. So think about, for example, an athlete before she gets onto the basketball court to, play in the Final Four, and she has that same adrenaline rush, but instead of interpreting it negatively, she interprets it as her body saying, "Psych, hustle, get out there, have a great performance." And if you take that same energy and interpret it positively, that attitude will go a long way to helping you when you're on stage. So, adrenaline is your friend, is not your enemy. But you cannot try to put a lid on it. Think about, for example, a pressure cooker. Your mom may have had, or your grandma may have had a pressure cooker, which basically keeps all the pressure in the pot whilst the energy builds up in the pot. And that may be great for food, but that type of pressure in a pot, unless it's allowed to be let out, will actually explode that pot. And so, just the way that adrenaline is there in your pot giving you the energy you need to perform, you actually have to use that energy, not try to keep the lid on it the way you would with a pressure cooker. So, then how do we take that adrenaline, which we know that we should be interpreting positively, right, as our body preparing us for a good performance? How can we then use that to transform that into a great performance? That's what I want to talk about now. So, when you think about a good performer on a stage, you tend to think of someone who, what? Who has a lot of positive energy. Somebody who maybe, again, it depends on the topic, but maybe smiling, might be nodding their head, might be leaning their body towards their audience, maybe using, appropriate gestures given the topic. But you feel that that person has energy. They are animated by their topic. And chances are, even if they are mic'd, their voice carries some kind of energy behind it. One of the things that we'll talk about this semester is proper breathing and learning how to breathe from your diaphragm, which is that muscle that sits just below your rib cage, which actually is like a balloon that when it's expanded gives you a strong base from which to project your voice. So basically, diaphragmatic breathing, good deep belly breaths that will allow you to project your voice, actually uses energy. And when you use that energy, as we talked about in terms of that pressure cooker, you're using that adrenaline. Rather than sitting on it, you're letting it out in a positive, proactive kind of way that brings excitement or intensity to your speech. So, projection, for example, good projection is great for helping you channel the adrenaline from stage fright. Um, the effective use of gestures. We're going to talk this semester about, effective gestures in public speaking. Gestures are never something that you should manufacture. They should emerge naturally from your conversational voice. But certainly when you use your body, just like an athlete would use his or her body on the field, that's taking energy, and that's taking that adrenaline and positively channeling it. So the effective use of gestures, projecting your voice, which we said. Some speakers are more comfortable actually moving around the room. And if you effectively move around the room and make contact with your audience that way, that takes energy too, right? Um, uh, so anytime that you can take your energy and positively channel it, then that lets out the pressure from that pressure cooker of your adrenaline and uses it positively. Let me give you another couple of tips about stage fright before we finish this little mini video today. And that one of those is related to eye contact. We'll spend some time talking about eye contact this semester, and you'll get lots of chances to practice, obviously giving speeches. But there is great value to eye contact because certainly it helps your listeners know that you actually are talking to them as people. You're not treating them as a sea of faces. You're actually seeing them as individuals and caring about them as individuals. So it helps them connect with your message, which of course is very important, and helps them connect with you and you connect with them. But from the perspective of stage fright, what eye contact does is it deals with the natural fear that we have when we stand in front of an audience and feel like it's me against the sea of faces out there. That somehow it's one against many. And I'm the one and I'm the target and they're all looking at me and they're just this sea of faces and that's scaring the crap out of me. Well, with eye contact, effective use of eye contact, you turn a mass of people into a series of one-on-one conversations. And when we think about what we know best, really talking to people in the one-on-one is something that generally we've had a lot of experience with, certainly a lot more experience than most of us have had with public speaking. So when you turn your audience into a series of one-on-one conversations with effective use of eye contact, that alleviates your stage fright. And so that simply means, just as I said, you pick out a person in the front row, you look at them, you smile, you say a sentence or two of your speech, and then you might move on and talk to somebody else in the middle of the audience, right? Or maybe somebody a little bit further in the back of the room, right? And as you have those conversations, people will feel connected with you, and you will feel more relaxed because you'll be talking to individuals, not to a mass of faces, right? And in that same vein, the two things that you never want to do is to look out over an audience's head, right? Some of you who may be trained on the stage have probably learned that you don't make eye contact with your audience, right? You look at the back wall of the theater. Do not do this with public speaking. It will make you more nervous and it will make your audience feel that you're not connected with them. So don't look at the back of the room, and also don't do what I call the lighthouse effect, where you're just a light sweeping across the audience. Because again, that just makes you more nervous because you can't really see any individuals. It's just a sea of faces. So make sure you remember to have eye contact with your audience. Okay. Second tip that I'll give you, actually third tip, right? Because first is changing your attitude about adrenaline and learning how to channel it positively, right? And the second one, of course, is eye contact. The third tip that I want to give you is related to preparation. Surprise, surprise. What makes us most nervous is when we give a speech and we know that we're not prepared, right? So not only does good preparation, chances are, make you be a better speaker, it'll actually alleviate some of your stage fright, right? And what's really important in that preparation is not just knowing your content really well, which of course is important, not just having practiced the speech, right? And when we talk about practice, we'll talk more about this, but I generally don't think it's good to practice in front of a mirror. I think it's important to practice in front of a willing roommate, boyfriend, girlfriend, a small group of your friends. Come on, I'm sure they owe you, right? You've done stuff for them before. So practice in front of a small group of people and get their feedback. And the more you present your speech, the more comfortable you'll be with it. It's just a natural kind of experience of getting practice, right? But the other thing to keep in mind in terms of practice, and we'll talk a lot more about this semester, is knowing your audience, right? Audience analysis is really important for a good speech, because if you're going to truly touch people with your words, kind of speak to them where they live, you need to know who they are, right? And so your audience analysis is going to be important for understanding how to target your message specifically for specific audiences. And in terms of stage fright, when you know something about your audience and you can tap into what you know about your audience, they respond, and that helps you with your stage fright. You could see them again as human beings who have tastes and maybe siblings and favorite movies or similar experiences to you, or whatever it is that you want to try to find out about your audience beforehand. Turns them into human beings, people like you, person like you, and you can relate to their experiences, who they are, and that will certainly help you with your stage fright as well. Okay, so you ready to get up on your feet and practice some public speaking? Sounds like a deal. See you in a bit.